Eagles. Eagles.
An absolute thriller ends in Eagles defeat. The Commanders win 36-33 and end the Eagles' double-digit 10-game win streak. And the Eagles are now 12-3 on the season, and the Commanders moved to 10-5, their first 10-win season since 2012. An insane game. Big Sills. Jalen Hurts leaves the game in the first quarter with a concussion. 5 turnovers for the Eagles defense, and they lose in the last couple seconds there with a big Jaden Daniels touchdown. He had 5 touchdown passes in the game today. Big Sills, what do you make of what you just saw?
You know, I thought the Eagles really played with a lot of grit in that football game, and I thought really they did a really great job defensively, holding it down as much as they possibly could. Let's be candid here. A lot of the there were drops in this game too, believe it or not, by AJ and Devontae in this game. You know, obviously when you are bringing in a backup quarterback, you're going to get inconsistent play, and that's kind of what you got there. But, you know, I thought, without a doubt, in my opinion, outside of that gigantic run that Barkley had, I thought they did a pretty good job, you know, against Saquon Barkley in the second half. He was really a non-factor.
You think any of that comes down to Jalen being out? I mean, look, when Jalen's in that run game, right, he's so much harder to cover because he's dynamic. You put a Kenny Flick at that.
And I will give you the point on this one, too. Because of all the 3 and outs that you have in there with the quarterback, that gives the opportunity to, no matter how many turnovers you have, you're going to get an opportunity to get your chances to get back into this football game. And because of Hurts' injury, there's no question they kept them back and they kept them in the football game. I will say this, there is no doubt that Jaden Daniels got the better of Vic Fangio the second time around. This guy's got over 335 yards of total offense and 5 touchdowns, ran for 90 yards, and had 260 yards in passing. I mean, this guy mightily improved in this. And by the way, who would have ever thought Olamide Zaccheaus, that kid, absolutely was an upgrade over Jahan Dotson. Was Dotson even in the game? Did he dress? Was he even active in this game? Holy cow. I mean, I can't think of how many passes that guy had going into this game. Terry McLaurin, once again, I think Q did a nice job on him. You know, there were some catches in the ball game, but you know what it came down to, Zander? It came down to the second wide receiver and the third wide receiver, and the fact that Hurts was out, giving the opportunity for those 3 and outs. There were too many 3 and outs.
Yeah.
Hurts is in that ball game. Here, let's do this. If Hurts is in that ball game, I don't have to concern myself that Kenny Pickett's going to take off running. I have to, as a defensive coordinator, I have to have a spy on that guy. And once that guy left the ball game, Kenny Pickett didn't worry me.
No, he didn't at all. Clearly not. And it's one of those
by the way, though, you got to say this. I think he played great for a backup. What'd you expect him to do? Go out there and look like Patrick Mahomes?
Right.
Or Jalen Hurts? This is what backups do, Zander. You know, I mean, he played as well as he could.
Yeah, no, he didn't. I mean, listen, not the best game. You have 5 turnovers on the Eagles defense. It's one of those games, so it's hard to judge right in the aftermath. I'm gonna have to rewatch this because I watch and I'm like, well, you're right. Jaden Daniels got the better of Vic Fangio today with 5 touchdown passes, but we also had 5 takeaways. Like, I can't say the defense played terrible, but I think you're right. So many 3 and outs with no Jalen Hurts in there. There was a lot more offensive opportunities for both teams in this football game. And ultimately, the Commanders get the win at the end. How about that Devontae Smith drop, by the way? I didn't want to crush him for it, but now you let the Commanders go down and score. So obviously, it's going to be highlighted, and you could have had another win there if you just catch that football right in the hands, wide open. Tough to see that from a guy who's so sure-handed like Devontae Smith.
Absolutely. And, you know, Zander, you look at the numbers here. And by the way, does Jalen Hurts affect the Commander numbers? Yeah. Because you kept giving them more opportunities in the second half to give them those chances at those sequences. They did have 370 yards of total offense, 368 to be exact. I mean, there was only 14, 13 drives between both teams. But here's the difference, too. They picked up their third down efficiency, and here's where Pickett really hurt them. They were 3 for 16. You know, I'll tell you something, too. I thought Hurts was getting out of the gate a little slow in the passing game as well, too, because I believe he was 1 for 4.
Yeah, 1 for 4, yep.
In the passing game. So It was 3 for 16, and really, you can't make any assessment on the Eagle passing game or the Eagle offense. They did run the ball. Dude, they ran the ball for – this shows you, Zander, if this does not show you how important it is to have a passing game, you ran the ball for 211 yards in this football game and lost. That's unheard
with
of.
5 takeaways.
You had 200 yards in rushing and 5 takeaways, and you got beat. That shows you the importance of the passing game, and absolutely, too, it shows you the importance of having your starting quarterback in the game.
No doubt about it. And that Saquon Barkley game means we will give away a Saquon Barkley jersey this week. So get your memberships in on the channel, everybody. Looking forward to doing that. I will say, and I want to preface this by saying, I like what Big Sil said in the open about this is a gritty performance from this team. I know you lost the game, but you're playing without your quarterback one. You know, like you can't expect it all to look the same. I thought the team battled hard. Now, I'll preface what I said with that, okay? Good gritty performance. You lost the game, which sucks. Boy, were we undisciplined today. Boy, did we miss some tackles in the open field today. And boy, did that end up you know what I kept thinking of, Sills, today when I watched some of those penalties and I watched C.J. Gardner-Johnson get thrown out of the game because he couldn't shut his mouth. And which ultimately cost it. I thought of Clint Hurt last week getting in the face of Nick Sirianni and saying, don't discipline my guy. You got to let the head coach discipline. And now I got a bunch of guys on defense running undisciplined. Like I said, I prefaced it by saying, I'm not mad. I thought it was a gritty performance when you're playing with your backup, but good night. The lack of discipline today was astounding.
All over the front seven, too, as well. I mean, everywhere across the board, the undiscipline in the pass catching by the receivers. I mean, again, you're there to help your backup quarterback. And like you said, man, there was Jalen Carter again. I mean, week 2 in a row on having a critical mistake in that football game. And like you said, I really thought that would have been addressed by now, but we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here. And that was, how many penalties did they have in that football game? And by the way, it just seemed that every penalty that they had in that game came down to a critical mistake that was in that ball game. They had 10 penalties for almost 100 yards, 91 yards. Dude, that's insane. I cannot believe, get this. So you get 5 turnovers. You play undisciplined ball. You rush the ball for 200 yards. Hey, by the way, I mean, 338 yards in total offense. You had 71 plays, and you were 3 of 16 on third down. I got to tell you, man, a very sloppy football game. And when Hurts went out in that game, boy, I'll tell you what, Zander, it pretty much wobbled that team. I thought the defense, like you said, the defense for me, 5 takeaways, but you gave up 340 yards in total offense.
I know. But a lot of that was because the Commanders had so many opportunities with you talked about it with the 3 and outs for the Eagles. I mean, there was a lot more offensive opportunities in this game. I don't know what the total play amount.
That Calcaterra mistake was absolutely unbelievably awful block that he had on that strip sack too, man. I mean, dude,
he is such a liability in the blocking game.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. It's tough to watch. It is tough to watch with him and block. All right. A couple things I want to run down in this game. First, I want to get your take on Jalen Hurts. He goes down early in that game. What do you think right now? Like, where's your head on Jalen Hurts? I know we don't know a lot about the injury at this point, but he missed this game. Concussion protocol is a tough thing to get through in the NFL. This is no longer just you can be gutsy and play through an injury, right? You got to deal with the NFL now and the concussion protocol. What are your thoughts right now on Jalen Hurts and where we are with him? He left the game in the first quarter.
For them not to put him back in, okay, I thought that they were going to put him back in. Now, again, I don't know what the significance and how long a length, because I don't know what the severity is of it. But let's just say this right now. Without a doubt, home field advantage is lost. The Lions won. They're now 13-2 on the season. Yeah. And that's lost. You're going to be in the 2-hole no matter what, because Minnesota and the Detroit Lions now have the advantage. And that game, at the last game of the year, is going to come down to who has home field advantage. I mean, home field has been lost because that's how important this game was. Zander, this game was important because you lose now, and you pretty much, the chances of you winning home field, in my opinion, is out.
It's basically done. You're right. It's basically done at this point. And I haven't looked yet at what this does for the playoff picture. Could this potentially bump Washington up to the 6th seed?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
I mean, because right now I'm thinking if you get 2, all right, the first game you're going to play Washington if they sneak in at that 7th seed, but the Packers are also 10-4. And I don't know what their game schedule is today. But I guess when they play, we'll find more about it. The Commanders are now 10-5, obviously. So it's going to be interesting to see how the seeding works out. Next guy.
By the way, Geno Smith is playing in that Seattle game.
He is.
So keep an eyeball on that thing there too, because if Minnesota loses, Zander, that keeps them back in the mix here. You've got to hope, in my opinion, for Minnesota to lose today to Seattle in Seattle, and that very may well can happen.
Sills, if Jalen Hurts finishes this game, I think we blow this team out. What say you?
I think they win. And I think those drives what you did with Hurts being out, you can't get around it. There's no question about it. Jaden Daniels played better because Hurts was out. Why? Because he could make up for his mistakes with those INTs by getting multiple series. When you have 3 and outs like that, Zander, you could throw 3 picks in a game.
I know.
But if you throw 3 picks and the other quarterback has 3 and outs, I'm still going to get a shot to make up those 3 picks. So Hurts being out, listen, I'd say, like I said, I picked it to be like a 28-20 game, something in that room. There's no question. By the way, the defense, Dan Quinn went like this. Second half, they shut down Barkley in the second half of that football game, man. I mean, outside of that large run. Yeah. So there's no question. Jalen not being in that game, it played into Jaden Daniels playing well, which he played exceptional, even with some of the mistakes he made in that game. I mean, quite frankly, they had no running game. It was him. He was the entire offense for that football team. I mean, but they gave him a chance. There's no question. The Eagles have Hurts in that game. There's no way you're not defending Jalen Hurts against the run. How many yards did Hurts have before?
He had already 41 rushing yards in the game.
Yeah, I mean, that just shows you right there. He had 30. Yeah. Jalen probably would have had near 90 to 100 yards rushing today in this football game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let's talk about Kenny Pickett, Sills. What'd you see from him? I know. Look, I thought you said it really well in the open. For anybody saying Kenny Pickett stink, I mean, he's a backup quarterback, right? Why we shouldn't expect him to look like Jalen Hurts, but analyzing what you saw from him.
And he kept him in the game. Here, this is what I want my backup quarterback to do. Hey, is my backup quarterback going to be as good as Jalen Hurts? It's why he's a backup quarterback. He's a backup quarterback, and why he was cut in Pittsburgh is because they don't believe that he can win consistently. Yeah. At the end of the day, though, they kept you around the rim with a 10-win football team.
Yeah,
I mean, kept you in the game. And by the way, that last drive was not anything on him. Okay, there were drops by AJ and Devontae in that. So that was not on him. They kept him. And by the way, he did lead them to a field goal, which took the lead in that.
To be fair, I thought his last 2 drives were his best 2 drives.
Yes.
But here was my issue today. And I get it. I already said, I know he's not going to be Jalen Hurts. He's not as good. He's a backup quarterback.
Correct.
But it felt like we couldn't do shit unless the defense got one of those turnovers. Every time we had one of those, we had more of a chance. Though. I know. That's but I don't think Kenny Pickett moved the ball. I mean, your defense gets 5 turnovers and you have 140 passing yards in 3 quarters.
If you were expecting Jalen Hurts, you were going to be sadly disappointed. I mean, I don't know what you were expecting him to do. To be Michael Vick? I think Philadelphia Eagle fans I think you guys are a little bit jaded. You know why? Because of Nick Foles. I think you guys think somebody's just going to walk in there, right, and throw for 357 yards and be the same kind of guy. If there's one franchise with the backup quarterback that is the most spoiled, it's got to be Eagle fans.
It might be. And listen, can you blame us? We won a damn Super Bowl with one. We got a statue of one in the city. So I'm not mad about it.
Absolutely not.
No, absolutely. What'd you make of C.J. Gardner-Johnson, by the way? Look, that's part of the undiscipline. I know somebody was saying, it's trash talk. It doesn't matter. I don't care what it is. You can't put yourself in a position to be thrown out of a football game because your presence on the field is far more important than anything that you got to say out of your mouth. I thought that, listen, I know there was a video floating around of C.J. getting his helmet blown off. I didn't see everything. Just asking your opinion on what you saw from C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He was thrown out of the game with a I guess an unsportsmanlike conduct.
love shit talkers. I am from the school that invented shit talking. I love it. However, there's a place and a time for it.
Yeah.
Okay? When your starting quarterback goes out, don't you think your unit needs more discipline? I mean, I'll tell you what, the coaches on the sideline could have been more in control of this and saying to everybody, hey, look here, man. We are missing a guy. We're missing one of our main guys here. We've got to play the most disciplined football that you could possibly play. Okay? I mean, Zander, again, I mean, yeah, Carter, CJ, there were a bunch of like really stupid plays that kept drives alive. Look, again, I thought some of the refereeing in this game too. Not to go down the line here, but
I know.
Man, I'll tell you something here. I don't know what they have against you guys in New York City.
I think it honestly
it's a New York Philly thing, bro. But I'll tell you, I saw some questionable calls again by the NFL officials, and I'm not that guy.
I
but
know.
I'll tell you, man.
Can I also say though, Eagle fans might not.
Here.
I think there were some bad calls both ways though. Listen, I know AJ was tormenting Marshawn Lattimore a little bit, but that one PI call, I mean, a nice vet move by AJ, but that was brutal. And then, by the way, the first one, which was PI, they blatantly missed AJ tugging on his chest protector like that.
That's the one I'm talking about. That was a pro move. But one of my comments, if you guys remember, what was the conditioning going to be like of Marshawn Lattimore? Now that you hear that it's also a groin, that he went into the tent and he couldn't stay with him later in the game. I think that shows you right there, Zander. He wasn't really in tip-top shape to stick with a guy like that because, in my opinion, I mean, he was struggling out there to stay in line with A.J. Brown out there. I mean, he really was. Early, I thought he did a great job on him.
How good is A.J.
as
Brown,
the game went on, man, I
how
thought
good is AJ Brown? Listen, Marshawn, I know we're going to chirp him because he's now a division rival here in Philly, and Marshawn Lattimore is a damn good player. AJ Brown makes everybody look like they're not that good.
Zander, now here's my point too. Also, dual threat.
Yeah,
dual threat. This is the chances you take when you have a quarterback that plays that style, Zander. Now look, people are going to go, Sills, you've seen quarterbacks go down before in the pocket and have concussions. If I'm not mistaken, did Hurts get hurt on a running play?
He did. It was a quarterback draw. Yep.
Okay. So, again, when you play that style of play, remember, this is some of the collateral damage. You get Josh Allen faces this. Lamar Jackson faces this. Kyler Murray faces this. That's some of the things you take and chances you take when you have a quarterback like that. That's going in. Like, again, I don't know what the grade is because now, look, next week, I mean, you got a cakewalk football game next week, in my opinion. Is Kenny Pickett good enough to win against? I don't think so. I don't think so. So, but then again, I think you're cemented into that second hole. And depending on what Minnesota, I would say this to you, Zander. If Minnesota wins, okay, and that game next week and the next two games next week don't matter. If I were Philly and this guy's pretty much floating around that concussion line, it's going to be interesting to see how the organization plays this out because I want that guy completely healthy. And if it doesn't affect me coming out of that two-hole, okay, because look, Minnesota or Detroit, Zander, you can have a great record, right? Yeah. But you're still going to be in the 5 seed because you're a wild card in the North.
Right.
No matter what. And there's no team behind Minnesota and Detroit that could jump up and catch you in the two-hole. I'm going to be very interested to see how Philadelphia handles this if Minnesota wins this ball game tonight.
So here's a contrarian take on this. In a way, is that a silver lining? Because does it take a pressure of the last two games that you had coming into today? Does it take that pressure, remove it, and put this team on, you're ready for the playoffs now? I hear what you're saying, but think about it. Now you're going to the next week and you're like, we don't have to win. Let's get healthy. Let's be healthy for the playoffs. Does it take that pressure and throw it out the window?
That, when you're talking injuries, yes. But here's me, man. I don't give a shit what it is, man. If it's hopscotch, if it's jacks, if it's darts, I don't like losing anything, man. I'm not a guy that goes, hey, I'll take a L here because I don't, maybe that's a silver lining here because you'd have to win all these games out to win. You know what, dog? Hey, I'm not surrendering anything, dude.
Yeah.
But health wise, I think you got to keep an eye on what happens in this Minnesota game.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for watching right now on the JAKIB Postgame Show. Big crowd in here. We appreciate each and every one. You got a tough loss today for the Philadelphia Eagles. 36-33 final. Ends on a last-second touchdown pass from Jaden Daniels, his 5th touchdown pass of the day. Eagles defense created 5 turnovers, but ultimately wasn't enough to overcome the loss of Jalen Hurts.
Have you ever seen anything like this, Zander? 5 touchdown passes from a guy and 5 turnovers.
I know.
I don't know what to say. Did you play well? I can't tell.
I can't tell either, man. And by the way, I don't know what was I'm a big fan of Joe Davis, and I'm a big fan of Greg Olson. They kept saying, like, they were acting like we didn't lose the quarterback. They're like, I can't believe the Washington has the lead. I'm like, hello, the elephant's right in the room, and you guys are looking right by it, man.
You know, some of these guys, they try to oversell it, and they're trying to overcook it. They don't want you to turn away from it. And that's – hey, by the way, all supers will be read, you guys.
Yeah, we're going to read – I'm going to read a couple in a second.
By the way, Zander, it was a gutty performance, man. I mean, you lose your number 1 starting quarter. Dude, can you tell me what would happen to Detroit if Detroit lost their starting quarterback and had to put that kid from Tennessee in?
Right.
Okay? I mean, come on. If you had to put Carson Wentz in Kansas City, you know what I'm saying? I mean, dude, I don't know how anybody doesn't look at that and go like this. There's no doubt Daniels played well and better because Hurts wasn't able to do one of the most important things. What was that? Sustain drives. Do you know the difference between a starting quarterback and a backup quarterback is exactly that, Zander? Jalen is going to keep more sustained drives going, which gives you and limited you on opportunities and series, whereas Pickett gave you more opportunities to make up for your mistakes.
Absolutely. We're going to read a couple super chats now from our great people. Don't forget to hit that like button, as I mentioned. And one thing I want to remind you guys while you're listening today, here on JAKIB Sports, we are in the Christmas spirit. We are doing tons of giveaways for our great viewers. And a silver lining of today's loss is Saquon Barkley eclipsed well over the 125-yard mark. So I will give away a Saquon Barkley jersey this week. And then
didn't I say 140? What do you have?
Yeah, I think he had 140 play. I think he had a couple in the passing game too. So we're well over the mark. And I just want to say, if you want to become a new member, I put the link in the chat today. So consider becoming a member. It's $5. I got 3 Quinyon Mitchell jerseys. I got Diana jackets. I got Eagles starter coats. We're giving it all away to the great people on JAKIB Sports who support this channel. So appreciate each and every one of you for being here, for watching the show, for engaging all year long. It's been a lot of fun, and we appreciate you. Let's get to a couple super chats here. Jason A-Team checks in. Appreciate you, Jason. I knew when we scored first and started hot, we were going to lose this game. Why did the refs take Jalen out? Team didn't, and he was going back in, but the refs stopped him. Something isn't right. Sketchy. A-Team, I'm not sure. I think that might have been them protecting the player, man. Jalen had a glaze in his eyes. He didn't look the same after that hit. I don't think the refs were trying to keep him out. I think they were trying to protect the player.
Did I buy that they were doing anything, the Eagles or anything. If that kid could have played, they'd have played his ass. There's not a chance in hell because, dude, they're trying to win home field. I'm not saving anything here.
Yeah, thank you, A-Team. Appreciate the super chat, brother. Good stuff. Terry Hayes checks in. Terry says, y'all can shit on Jalen Hurts all you want. I think we win if he doesn't go out. I would say for sure, Terry. I don't know. Maybe I'm just stupid. Too many drop balls and dumb penalties. Unfortunately, we won't have him till probably the postseason. That looks like it could be a reality.
Boy,
maybe week 18.
May I'll tell you this, man. If that's the case, that you're talking about him not being out there till the postseason. I mean, wow. I mean, because look, you're not getting the bye. All likely, you're not getting it. So you're going to first. His next game is going to be the wild card game, most likely against the same Commander team.
Yeah,
is that right?
It could be. That's what.
Or potentially Green Bay.
Potentially Green Bay, right? That would be the other person that's in that 10-win mark. We'll see, and they have a couple tough games to close out the year. So Commanders, Green Bay, that's a tough first-round opponent. And if Jalen's not able to get on the field before that could be something to keep an eye on. Absolutely. Christopher Darker checks in. He says, the moment they threw CJ out of the game, they torched us. I've never scratched my head more playing a game. Smitty never drops that ball. They sold out for Barkley once Hurts went out. That last sentence is certainly true. And, Christopher, I'm watching that game. I kept saying, I kept saying, this is the weirdest football game I've ever watched.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
a weird game, man. It had a lot of weird characteristics.
I was shocked that they did a really good job on Saquon Barkley in the second half. I mean, he had that gigantic run, Zander, in the ball game. What was that run for? Was
68 yards, the touchdown, yeah.
68 yards, that 68-yard touchdown. Think about this, okay? If you take that 70 yards away, you're talking about in the second half or 70 yards really in the game with 2 touchdowns. I mean, they did a nice job of stopping him outside of that big giant run. They made a priority, man. And then when Hurts went out, once again, I handed to Pickett in the offense and the guys in the gritty performance by hanging in there. Did I think when Hurts, how about this? I'll give you this. Did I think the Eagles were going to win this game when Hurts went out? No, I did not.
See, I thought we had a chance because it was 21 to 7. Well, it wasn't 21-7 yet, but the Eagles had a lead. Then Kenny got in. To his credit, he started real good. Got the ball to A.J. Brown a couple times, 3 straight times, and got the touchdown. And then Saquon took it to the house. And I'm like, okay, if the defense can do what they got to do today, I think we should be able to hold on to the win. Ultimately, obviously, it didn't play out.
Hurts's ability to run the ball was missing in that game. And his ability to make some throws on third down, that slant pass, clearly was an issue in that football game. There's no doubt that the football team and the offense missed Jalen Hurts in that game. I mean,
let me ask you a personal question because I know a lot of people are great viewers here, are big watchers of the National Football Show, 2 to 6 Eastern every single weekday, which is one of the best shows on YouTube, maybe the best show on YouTube. Did this game, in your opinion, did it alter your opinion and how important Jalen Hurts is to this football team?
Yeah, it did. There's no question you're not winning dick if that guy's not in there.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, if you can't beat an upstart 10-win team, and I think Washington, what did we say? Washington's got some pieces, and they showed those pieces today, and they were enough to win. Here's my issue. Here's why I say that. The number one statistic that's on the board and on the team stats, they ran for 200 yards, dude. I'm sorry. If you run for 200 yards and you lose, there's a missing component. Either your quarterback sucks, he's not moving the chains, he's turning the ball over on third downs. That's exactly what happened in that game. Now look, could Pickett be better in the next one? Do I think he's an upgrade from Gardner Minshew? I do. Do I think he's an upgrade from Marcus Mariota? I do. I think he does. I think he is. I think he came right out there through that touchdown pass right at the beginning of the game. Is he good enough to win you a significant football game? Is that guy going to give you Nick Foles? No.
No.
He's not going to give you Nick Foles. That's not Nick Foles because you know why? Because remember what you and you always say about Nick. There was a Pro Bowler before. Kenny Pickett has been a garbage bowler before. He's never been great. Foles has been great. He's had a great year. We've seen the guy, one of the most complex careers of all time. You're like, because you do this about Foles. Is he good? I can't tell. I look at Pickett and I go, that guy's very average.
Yeah, I think the way you put it too is right though. Your defense gets you 5 turnovers. You have a big 68-yard run from Saquon Barkley and 200 plus on the ground, and you don't win the game. Something is missing on that football team, and most of the time it's the quarterback.
I'll tell you this, man. Elliott's kicks were a plus in this thing here, man. I felt
he missed that one at the end of the half, but overall he did hit the 50-yarder.
I feel pretty good about him. I think he's starting to turn it around. Like you're seeing that kid Justin Tucker turn it around in Baltimore a little bit.
He's kicking with a little more confidence, it looks like. Yeah, a little bit more oomph in the leg, which is good. Kevin Landon becomes a new member. Kevin, appreciate you, man.
Kevin.
You're officially entered in. You, Kevin, and a couple of our other new members. Zinman becomes a member. Kevin Landon becomes a member. And Weapon X becomes a member. You guys are officially entered in to JAKIB Christmas. Now, there's one more thing you have to do, guys. You got to stay tuned all week because you don't know when Zander Claus is going to be giving out a jersey or a hat or a jacket or whatever it is. We got the beautiful Jerome Brown jersey, by the way. I got my computer right in front of me. And right behind it is the Jerome Brown jersey hanging up on the wall. And we're going to give that sucker away on the National Football Show.
That's awesome.
So looking forward to doing that. Brian Pumper checks in. He says, it was a weird game, Zander, but that might be us feeling the Jaden Daniels aura. He's a magic man, and we just got a preview. I mean, he had a good game. He still had 2 picks, but 5 touchdown passes for the guy. Hell of a game by Jaden.
And he had 335 yards in total offense in this game, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, the guy being 258, 5 touchdowns, and I mean, he took a sack in the ball game. I thought he escaped, and I thought he made some great plays on 4th down, and he also had 9 carries for 81 yards. I mean, Robinson put the ball on the ground twice. I mean, I think probably Cliff went away from him, and it was really the Jaden Daniels show, man. And by the way, this kid, the kid Olamide, who played in Philadelphia, had 5 catches for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. Zander, you want to hear something psychotic?
He destroyed us today.
How about this? This guy had 30 catches going into the freaking game, and he had 5 catches in the ball game. And he absolutely, I'll tell you this, I'd love to have him on the Eagles in the 3-hole. Oh, wait, you did.
Yeah, I don't know why they let him walk. And now you have Jahan Dotson, which you sent a 3rd rounder for, and he's done absolutely nothing.
No, what just Washington? Did they not upgrade with the Eagle guy you let loose?
Yeah.
They upgraded. The Eagles downgraded, and you gave him a 3rd.
Yeah, we swapped. They got rid of Dotson, who was their number 2. And we
gave him a 3rd, which is crazy.
Yeah, Dirty Air checks in. Dirty Air says, offense couldn't stay on the field, gassed our defense. Pretty clear now Jalen is extremely important to our team. I agree 100%. I think that's the very clear takeaway. So let me ask you this.
For a second, I just got somebody who wears a hat just kind of like you saying the number 1 defense just got thrashed. Hey, I mean, somebody who wears a hat like you just text me. I'm not going to say any names or anything. But
the only person I know who wears a hat like this is the great Joe Krause, my father.
I'm just saying the great number 1 defense just got. Hey, Big Joe. I'm
calling. You know what? I'll say this to you and Big Joe right now. I'm calling bullshit. Your defense has 5 takeaways today. Wait a second. They need a takeaway at the end of the game, and what happens? You come up with the takeaway in the last 3 minutes of the ball game. And we can't get a 1st down because of Kenny Pickett, and we got to give him the ball. We killed 50 seconds.
Wait a minute. Wait. Hey, Big Joe. They did get 5 turnovers, but they gave up 5 touchdowns to the kid. You gave up 5 teams. So wait a minute. Did they play well or did they not? Did they play well or did they play awful? What is it? Which one is it? I'm with you. Wait a minute. This is like, I don't know. Wait a minute. I can't believe I'm walking down the line here on a fence and on a tightrope here. Did they play well?
I don't know. This is what I'm going to have to defer to you and ask. You tell me. Did they play well? They had 5 takeaways, but they gave up 5 touchdown passes.
I think they gave too many. I think Hurts's absence gave those Commanders the opportunity at getting the series back and making up for the mistakes. Really, Jalen Hurts being out, in my opinion, it saved the Commanders from being able to win that football game.
And Manny says, Smitty dropped the ball. Manny, you took it out of him.
Huge drop. He was wide open.
I mean, they got the takeaway. Smitty's got the rock delivered by Kenny Pickett right in the hands.
Pickett. You see my boy
short-handed wide receivers doesn't hold. I mean, that's.
And there were times in that game that offense looked like it was just humming in the passing game. It was humming.
You don't even believe that. You don't even believe that.
It was just humming. I was like, that is how you throw the ball, right? Humming. I just need some more reps, though. Kind of like Zach Bond. Need some reps. By the way,
let me ask you this, all right? And you're going to tell me.
Zach Bond was all over the fucking place
again. Yep. Nolan Smith had another good game, I thought, as well.
I thought Nakobe did. They took that sack away from him, though, but he got back there, man.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I want to ask you this, Sills, and you tell me. Because you're not the Eagle fan, all right? You're the guy who tells Eagle fans when they're right and when they're wrong, whether it's true or not. You love to tell us that.
Because it's in the Big Sills vision.
It's in the truth, justice, and the Big Sills way. So let me ask, as an Eagle fan, is it fair to look at this game and perhaps feel a little bit better about the team because you watch them fight, you watch them tooth and, you scratch and claw, you gave them some adversity, you lose the game, but you're getting back your starting quarterback.
Here's what I'm going to do to you, man.
Like, I can't be mad about this loss. I really can't.
Wait a minute. Here's what I'm going to do to you. And I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to do what those idiots did. And I love Greg Olsen. He's a Hurricane. Try overselling it. Do I think that game has any impact on how good I think you are? Absolutely fucking not.
I think it makes me think that we could be even better.
Okay. Once again, passing game, we'll find out if what's his name, the Wizard of Alabama, Jalen Hurts, can go back. He started out awful in that football game. He was
well, you know where I think became evident. Well, I think this has always been evident, but even highlighted a little bit extra today is one of Jalen Hurts' best characteristics is not throwing the ball. It's moving the chains. He has unconventional ways to move the chains and keep the offense on the field, no matter what it looks like. And boy, did you miss that today. I mean, how many third downs and fourth downs even did we have today where you're like, we just couldn't move
the first series.
Yeah.
He did that in the first. Dude, there's no question. Hey, I even tweeted out, the Eagles have the best running back and quarterback in the league. I mean, there's no doubt. He's great. What a great running quarterback you have. I don't know about throwing. He threw a couple already behind. Behind guys.
What's your gut feeling? You think we'll see him next week, Jalen?
I think it depends on what happens with Minnesota. And by the way, for them not to put him back in, last week, if you remember right, Josh Allen went out. He got dinged up, right? They put his ass right back in the ball game.
Was it a concussion though with Josh last week?
It was a concussion check. They went into the tent. They checked him. He went right back in. Like, okay, so you kept the guy. For them to keep him out, it has to be significant.
Because if you looked at it, didn't it look to you like Jalen wanted to get back? He came out of the tent, put his helmet back on, and the coach is looking. Coach is like, "Yo, dude, you're going over there. You're not going in the football game."
I thought he did a good face plant though. I thought that was a good face plant.
It looked like helmet to helmet to me.
I don't know. I thought the ground caused that.
I think the ground definitely caused a concussion, but it looked like he got hit here and then he went this side into the ground. Definitely hope Jalen Hurts is okay.
Absolutely, man. The problem that you're going to have here is that if Minnesota wins, it's over for home field. It's over. And maybe what you do is you rest his ass for this next game coming up here too, because
Vikings are tied 7-7 right now.
Keep an eye on that ball game because that's going to really dictate it. Because if they win out and they get to the last game of the year, Minnesota and Detroit, Zander, home field is going to come up between those two teams.
Absolutely. Let's get to the Super Chat.
Unless there's a somewhat tie in the room there, which is
appreciate everybody checking in, by the way, with the Super Chats. It goes a long way in helping support the channel, so we appreciate you guys. Matt NG checks in. He says, Kenny did his job. Need to catch the damn ball for your backup. O-line was seeing 8-9 men boxes. It looked like we had a hard time communicating the pressure on the run game. Well, that's what they were doing. They were stacking the box and putting one-on-one with AJ. That's why they started to go to AJ, because they were tormenting Lattimore.
Did you see them drop one safety when they were starting to drop from two safeties to one safety?
Well, McCollum got burnt.
There was like 10 guys in the box. Barkley had nowhere to go. They knew the kid couldn't beat him. Okay. And then that's how critical those drops were. AJ, I thought that play that Lattimore had late in the game that knocked that ball out of his hands towards the sidelines, and then the miss by Smitty, I thought gave them the opportunity to get back and have an opportunity to win that ball game. Hey, man, but you got to give it to Daniels, man. Let a game-winning drive.
Yeah.
But, and I tweeted this out too, Zander. I said, this is all Washington could have hoped for. Knock the quarterback out and have a last drive opportunity to beat the Eagles. Eagles still should have won that game. And they were right there to win it. They had the lead with 6 seconds left.
Yeah.
You had the lead, okay? There's no doubt. Well, what's the determining factor? Who wasn't out there? Well, it's Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
If Jalen Hurts is in the ball game, you probably win by 10.
Yeah, I'm sure the people love to hear you say that, Big Cells, today.
Yeah, well, I got it. Hey, listen, I can't. Listen, as much as I like to give this guy, and I think this is the kind of shit I talk about with low windows and low ceilings because of dual threat shit. You're going to run into this just like every other dual threat quarterback in the league runs into. But at the end of the day, here you got to be candid here. What's the one thing that kept that game close? You had a backup quarterback in. Shit, let's be honest.
And also, doesn't it also show that that Saquon's MVP season, also some of that credit does deserve to go to Jalen Hurts, not directly because of play, but certainly because of the way defenses have to play him. Yeah, you can't leave Jalen Hurts alone, or else he's going to gash us. So Saquon Barkley's had so many more.
I think they both need one another. I think they both need one another there. Okay.
Yeah, I agree for that for sure.
But I can guarantee you this: if Jalen Hurts is in the football game, there's no way you're taking one safety down, dropping it down. line of scrimmage. There's not a chance in hell, man. AJ would have hit his head on the goalpost 4 times today if that was the case.
Yeah. Good stuff. Appreciate everybody checking in today. We're going to take our first commercial break. We'll talk to John McMullen live from the stadium in a little bit. Hopefully, in the next
see that passing offense clicking though.
It wasn't. Even you know it wasn't clicking.
It was like a
no, you know how you know it wasn't clicking? Because the easy storyline today for Big Sills would have been, look at that passing offense. But you can't even say it. You can't even say it. It looks so shitty.
I will say here one more time. Hey, Big Joe, I'm with you. Did the defense, did Jaden Daniels carve the Lindbergh Cheese defense up today for 350 yards of total offense? Or did they play well by getting 5 turnovers? I can't, again, I mean, the kid was a one-man machine. I mean, look at it. He was a junior Josh Allen today.
John checked in real quick. I'll read one more before we get to the break. I'll get to all super chats, by the way. Always. I never end a show on JAKIB Sports without getting to every single super chat. I'll never end a show. So all Anthony Skywalker, Brian Pumper, Anthony Wilson, NJ Fishing, I'll get to every single super chat. Spurger King, what's up, brother? I just want to get to John here. Drop $10. John says, just start Tanner, man. Washington obviously didn't respect either quarterback because they're not passers. I'm not saying Tanner's going to clutch it, but dang, he's a traditional passer. They have to at least worry. Now, I don't know about Tanner McKee. I don't know. Is it one of those things that you're just fascinated by the back?
No, I'm not starting that.
But here, I'll say this. There's a good chance Kenny Pickett plays a little bit better next week, right?
Yes.
You can prepare for that game. They weren't prepared at all to put Kenny Pickett in there.
Absolutely. That's a shitty take by that guy. And there's no doubt. And Pickett gives you more ability because he's a little bit more elusive in his wheels than you're going to get with Tanner McKee. By the way, just to be candid here, the kid ran for had a total of 339 total yards and 5 touchdowns against the Vic Fangio defense the second time around. How you doing? Best quarterback in the NFC East.
I don't know.
There he is right
I don't know
there.
who to blame it on. It's hard to push back when you give up 5 touchdown passes, but I'm like, wait a second. We had 5 freaking takeaways. I mean, who am I mad at? I'm not really sure. Brian Weaver, thanks for becoming a member, man. Really cool of you. Appreciate that, brother. You're officially entered in to Zander Claus. So let's get to our commercial break. When we come back, we'll rip off a couple super chats. I'll get a couple more of your takeaways on this game. And then we'll talk to John McMullen coming up soon here from the stadium. So appreciate everybody checking in today. Hit that like button. We're only up to 165 with well over 1,000 on YouTube. Come on, let's get that to 200, 250. Eagles lose today, guys, 36-33 in a nail-biting performance. Jaden Daniels, as Sil said, 5 touchdown passes for him. Kenny Pickett, 143 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 pick. So we'll get to our commercial break. We'll be right back in 3 minutes here on the JAKIB Postgame Show.
Ignite your nights with